All right, hello everybody. Haven't done one of these solo recordings in a few months, but here we are. Today we're gonna be responding to. Close my door. Shut it a little bit. Uh, Xel. Sorry, that's my thermos. Xel Writer. Now, for those of you who don't know, he is, at least to my knowledge, one of the more like the person that's like really are overly positive about RWBY. Which honestly, I'm gonna say this. Maybe there is some merit to having these people around. Just you could argue to balance things out. However, you then get into weird, incredibly terrible arguments that completely ignore the context of the story. Because let me point my mic towards me a little bit more. But ultimately, that you do just end up with really poor arguments that that just completely ignore what's happening on screen, and to the point where, like, it's one of the things of the story, and or more specifically, the writers are telling you this is the thing that is happening. You believe this is the thing that is happening, even though the events that are being portrayed and playing out on screen are entirely contradictory to the writer's intent, but these people take the writer's intent instead of what's actually being written, right? Like, I'll always argue, like, in Volume 8, when Penny is made human or whatever, like, that is essentially making death a plot hole, because, like, your soul separating from your physical body creates a flesh and blood new body. How does anyone ever fucking die in this world? Why is it when you die and your soul goes out of your body and is essentially going to go into the afterlife, why doesn't it not just, like, form a new body, right? Because, like, it's explained so poorly as to why this happens. Like, get creative, because, like, fucking what's his face, the fucking Chad, I called him Chadman in my Volume 8 video, like, Chadman, like, he just like, he can't create, or he can't, like, destroy things, but, like, he also can't, I don't think, he couldn't create a flesh and blood body because he wasn't given, like, an anatomy chart of all of the systems of a body, right? Because he needs, like, a schematic. So what happens is, like, just take the nuts and just take the mechanical parts, make a new body, get creative. Like, what does get creative mean? What is it? How does that explain anything? Right? But people like Xel will take the authorial intent as the authorial intent. I see the authorial intent in the symbolic meaning of this, and therefore, because I see it, it is good, right? Something like that. The people. It's like similar to the people look at the themes of failure in The Last Jedi, and they automatically they think, see, look, the themes of failure exist. It's like, they do. You're right. It's just they're executed horribly. They see the idea and think they see the idea on screen, and because the idea is present, it is good rather than the execution of the idea. It's kind of one of those things. At least in my experience from watching what of Zell's content, either through Kaiser Shonen or through Team Ject. So I figured I should do it myself. This one's a bit old. RWBY Volume 9 is not filler, 2 years ago. I am currently working on my review of RWBY Volume 9 Part 2. And, I may or may not go into how this season is kind of how there are just no significant consequences to literally anything that happens. So, let's see what Zell has to say. It's also only 6 minutes long. Or 6:50, you know what I mean. I also want to say RWBY is such a fucking dumb title. Like that's it's I don't it's a tad pretentious, just a tad pretentious. Like, sorry, eating in a nice Mandarin, not a Chinese person. All right, or the language.
Hello again. Sorry for the sporadic update schedule.
Oh my God, your his audio hasn't changed in like his his audio has not improved in 2 years. Like, dude, mess with your sound settings, or just find or just find or get like a new microphone. Like a Blue Snowball is a competent microphone, and it's like $40 at most.
Recently, computer troubles, electricity troubles, work trouble, and getting sick all at once really kicked my ass. So
Okay.
let's not waste any more of you wonderful people's time. Today I am here.
Oh my God, a Xel Writer video, not wasting my fucking time, because I actually tried to do one of these last week, I believe. It was one of his videos. It took him until it was like 11 minutes and some change. It took him like 6 minutes in to get to the actual meat of the argument. It was really bad. But hey, we're getting right to the point. All right, maybe it'll be better in terms of pacing.
To address a somewhat sporadic complaint I've seen that RWBY's 9th volume was filler. The short answer is that no.
I mean, short answer is, like, yeah, it is effectively filler. Because, like, when you think about it, and maybe he'll address this, what, aside from Bumblefuck, what all was fucking accomplished? Like, really, think about it. What consequences were there? Like, really think about it. Really scratch your head.
The long answer requires me to define filler first, as the term has become much abused as of late. So, without further ado, filler is a term popularized in the early 2000s, particularly around anime, and is rooted in anime creators creating extra...
No, the term filler in terms of stories has been around for quite a while. Like I remember this term being used even for like for like any kind of series that maybe had like an ongoing narrative, but you would also have episodes that were utterly inconsequential to the plot, or you'd have plot lines or certain books in a series that would ultimately just be filler, or certain missions in video games that don't really do anything but to pad the runtime of the game or the movie. Like filler is just like essentially like things that are ultimately inconsequential to the main story, like events or characters or stories. These things ultimately don't matter to the main story. Now, granted, yes, maybe nowadays we think about it in terms of like non-canon stories to anime adaptations of long-running manga, but filler can be in pretty much anything.
Material that wasn't in the original manga, usually so there would be more time for the manga to be updated. This can take on several forms. The first and often worst is dragging out scenes, such as battles, to be much longer while changing literally nothing.
Okay, but that can also be that can also be applied to things that aren't anime.
Thematic stare-offs are popular for this, but it can be done well, such as with Tenshinhan vs. Tao in the 23rd Budokai, where the lead-up to the fight was drawn out due to his pain at the prospect of fighting his former master and abuser.
Okay, I don't remember much of OG Dragon Ball, so I guess I'll believe you on that. Like,
next tier of filler are filler arcs. These are...
Oh my god. Xel, you have less than 10 minutes. We're just gonna spend half the video talking about like filler arcs and what filler is. Couldn't you have just set down a baseline criteria? Filler is for example, filler is events, plot lines, scenes, entire entries in a story that are ultimately inconsequential and have no impact on the greater narrative. Right? There.
Story is totally isolated.
I just did a better job.
From the other plots or from the singular overarching narrative. These types of filler arcs are very common in Bleach and Naruto. They're often maligned for disrupting an already in progress story with stuff.
I mean, not Bleach or Naruto, but definitely related to this topic. An arc about to return. An arc about the return of the Big Five and Kaiba's unknown.
It will seem.
I fucking hate it when he does this. Oh my god, just. So this is also an issue with the previous video, is like when Xel has like more stuff to say, he doesn't go, oh, okay, let me find a break in this explanation to naturally flow into something, another example I can give and record and edit that. He will put this text block on screen. So it's at least for me personally, it's kind of hard to, like, I'm reading all of this. I have to, like, pause the video, read all of this, then, you know, like, listen to the video, and one of the two, and I don't know. It's just really bad. It's just really bad. Really bad. Fuck. What would you call it? Editing? I guess. Maybe not editing. It's really bad at conveying information. That's what I was looking for. Sorry, it's late.
Important for the moment, and then stop existing once the plot is done and everything snaps back to normal.
All right, that little detour was
okay.
a complete waste of my time and effort. So let
Editor, the One Piece clip was running four times speed, by the way. It was 2 minutes 30 seconds originally. We don't have time for this, Xel. You have less.
Let's move on and pretend that nonsense never happened.
I love Kaiba. Dub Kaiba is the best version of Kaiba. I don't fucking care. The man in Dark Sided Dimensions literally said, like, if there is a god, the world he created is fucking cringe and lame. I can do a better job.
However, is the worst example of such filler arcs, and they can be done well. I highlighted as such in my video on good filler with One Piece's G8 arc. We also have stuff like the Land of the Sea arc in Naruto or the Zanpakuto Rebellion. These didn't change.
Okay, but get to the point, Xel. You've laid out your criteria for filler. This isn't a video necessarily about filler, like about filler in storytelling or in anime. This is you define what you mean by filler, and now you're going to say why Volume 9 does not meet this criteria. That's how you do things. You're getting too lost. You don't have time for this.
The main story, but they did explore the world and the characters and themes in greater depth. Finally, there is the middle ground between these two extremes.
Okay, I'm sorry. What? Good filler. What does good fill? What? I'm sorry. I'm skipping this. I'm skipping to this point. I can't with him because what point? What is the point of this? Genuinely, like, what is the point of incessantly wasting our time? Like, this isn't a video about what makes filler good. You are trying to say this thing is not filler. Here's the definition, or here's a cogent definition of what filler is in the context of storytelling. This is why like, RWBY Volume 9 in this case doesn't meet this. I'm going to explain why, and that should be the bulk of your video. Like, I mean, granted, it is, but, like, let's see, 2 minutes 35 seconds. That's like a quarter of the video is dedicated to, like, I'm sorry, like, whatever. Like, I'll leave the link in the description, so if you guys want to go and watch it for yourself and say just I don't know.
This shows a terrible understanding of media because it reduces stories down to their bullet points with
Oh. Okay, never mind then. I take it back, Xel. I'm gonna do that back. I apologize.
The Dragon Ball anime used to love this, letting us see the training between Budokais or the trip to Namek.
I still think that, ironically enough, this is filler for this video, but like, I don't know. There was a point there I want to respond to, but need full context.
Giving the cast little adventures that also helped lay the groundwork for upcoming arcs. Then someone new took over and decided they hated fun, so instead we just got drawn out fight scenes. So, the general issue with filler arcs is rooted in them disrupting or not serving the main story, feeling like a waste of the audience's time and investment, as well as generally being seen as malignant in motives because it's about killing time over a story really wanting to be told. Oh, and fourth and finally is something that's not actually filler, but that some people have taken to calling filler. Namely, anything that doesn't immediately pertain to the main plot of beat the bad guy or whatever. This
I mean, sure, some people say that, but like, there's also the fact that like it's totally inconsequential.
Shows a terrible understanding of media because it reduces stories down to their bullet points with no,
wait, hold on.
This shows a terrible understanding of media because it reduces stories down to their bullet points with you fucked up your subtitles, Xel. To mere bullet points, or into their bullet point. God damn it. No interest in exploring the characters, themes, or setting. It is the most lifeless way to conceive of a story, hence this not counting as filler, but merely people misunderstanding the term. Now,
I mean, but it can be filler. Like, there are instances in story where, like, we must stop the main villain. Why are we taking the time to do this inane horse shit? Because, like, there is character progression and character development, but there is just also generally in certain stories where characters and this plot just waste a bunch of time doing stupid nonsense, even though it's like, okay, but the world's ending. The world's gonna end. Can we, like, hustle and hurry up, please? We need to find, could we just actually pay attention to this? Right? And that does happen.
None of the three examples of filler actually apply to RWBY Volume 9.
Let's actually take a look at your criteria. Okay. Disrupting or not serving the story. Well, it does disrupt the story. Like, it does. It does disrupt the story. Because we go to... It does. Because we go to an entirely different dimension with an entirely new set of rules. Rules that... quote-unquote rules. Let's be real. So we do disrupt the main story. It doesn't serve the main story really at all in any way, at least not like in a practical way, because like, what's really accomplished here, right? Like, what really is accomplished besides bumblefuck? I would argue nothing, in all honesty. Feeling like it wastes the audience's time. Volume 9 is a complete waste of fucking time. It is an absolute waste of mine and everyone else's fucking time. None of the things that happen in there truly matter. When you get down to brass tacks, none of it matters at all. Now, Xel might bring these points up later in the video. That's hence why I'm kind of restraining on the explanations, because I don't want to address it right away and be more repetitive than I usually am sometimes with these unscripted stuff. But it is a colossal waste of everyone's fucking time. Being told to solely waste time rather than a genuine desire to tell a unique story. So, it is not being told solely to waste time necessarily. I don't believe that Kirby believed that it was a waste of time, obviously, but it doesn't really matter. But honestly, I would say that filler can be filler doesn't have to be a deliberate waste of time. The writer can think that this stuff is important, but like factually speaking, it isn't. Like, it doesn't do anything for the main story. Like, intention doesn't matter. Something can be filler regardless of intention. And they could have a genuine desire to tell a unique story. I mean, like, but again, it can still be filler. Intention doesn't matter in this case, again. But, all right. Let's, all right. Here we go.
This shows a terrible understanding of themes, but merely people misunderstanding the lifeless way to conceive of a story. Hence, this not counting as filler, but merely people misunderstand.
Editor note: you not caring for understanding what's going on is not the same as what is going on being relevant. It'd be relevant. I mean, yeah, sure, but like, simply saying I don't care. All right. Why don't you care? Right? It's one of those things of I don't give a shit. I mean, that's not true. I do give a shit about some of the stuff that happens in Volume 9 because it pisses me off quite a bit. It pisses me off a lot. So I guess I do care. But like if someone says I don't give a shit about this thing and you go, why? And you go, oh, because of this, or this. The reason why they don't care, that's the reason why they don't care. I should say. Sorry, like I said, it's a bit late. So they give the reasons why they don't care about something. Well, I mean, like, and if the reasons are valid, I mean, like it doesn't. It's like their reasons could be the explanation as to why something is irrelevant. Like, it could be an explanation and evidence to demonstrate that something is irrelevant. So, like, I don't know, bit of an oversimplification.
Ending the term. Now then, none of the 3 examples of filler actually apply to RWBY Volume 9.
The last one, sure, but the last one is utterly irrelevant until there's something as filler.
I mean, right off the cuff, RWBY don't have the time or the money to spend on a whole volume that serves no purpose. So them just...
Again, intention doesn't matter. They can think it matters all at once, ultimately speaking, when you look at it and how it relates to the overall story. What you can extrapolate from Volume 9 in terms of what does matter is so minuscule, it's ultimately irrelevant.
Spinning their wheels makes no sense. But the
intentionally, yes, but they do.
idea that the story doesn't matter in some way is also entirely false.
What? It doesn't.
For one, The Ever After gave us a magnificent venue with which to explore our characters and set of circumstances that would...
Okay, but this is ultimately the issue of C-197, as I call it, because it is about as comprehensible and understandable as something that Chris Chan himself would make. They didn't need to be there in order to accomplish any of these things. They didn't need to, aside from the visual aside from something like a visual representation of like RWBY's choice being all the weapons and then and Bumblefuck, and the bridge and stuff, like none of the quote unquote major character stuff that happened in C-197 couldn't have been done either on Remnant. You could easily retool the Bumblefuck scene into maybe a Grimm having some weird illusionary ability or something like that, or someone having a weird semblance, maybe. Again, I'm kind of coming off the cuff here, or you could just have them talk to each other. Sorry if you heard that in the background, my cat's being a cat. You could have just had them talk to each other. That's always an option. You can always have characters talk to each other and explain themselves, explain their mood, explain and like just have that, or put them in a situation, or maybe like put them in a, like put them in a like in a more and again, it's also just the way it happens as well. Like they just so happen to get like slammed with this memory store level horseshit that is the Punderstorm. It's like, oh, here's this weather pattern. We're gonna trap you, and we're gonna trap you in like this emotional fucking prison of shit that you need to like get off your chest. And like they're more concerned about their feelings for each other than they are of potentially never being able to escape this fucking hellscape. That doesn't make sense in the slightest. Like when you actually think about it, it doesn't make sense as to why this as to why like they would as to why they would be more concerned about this than trying to escape. Like it does not, and it genuinely does make them, and it does make them come off as incredibly self-centered. Because my feelings for you are more important than the existential dread of potentially never being able to leave this place and save the world and see my family again. Right? Like,
force them to explore themselves. If they were just stuck in vacuo, they'd be moving from one task to the next. No time to decompress, no time to talk.
That's factually not true. What do you mean, no time to decompress or talk? Actually, if anything, you could argue you could argue them having to be them not having the time to talk could potentially cause immense strain upon their relationship, and thus tensions could run high, and they could I don't know, you could have the crash out scene in episode 7 or something like that. But excuse me. But that's just wrong. You can totally have, there's undoubtedly going to be downtime for them to talk, and there would be time for them to decompress. But of course, you're assuming that they actually do talk about the important shit that happens, when they barely do. They barely discuss anything that happens in Atlas. Like they touch upon like the surface level consequences, and like it is a motivating factor as RWBY to RWBY like shooting star press, doing the shooting star press off of a roof. But like they don't really get into the meat of the discussion. They're ripped away from it completely, and then you have Jean pointing out the fact that like, oh yeah, we're here because of you, because your plan sucked. Also, Neo hates you. It's like it's all about you, you dumb bitch. And like, oh wow, cool, come on, let's have some back and forth about this, right? And then RWBY could fire back and say, oh yeah, well you went along with this plan, you never fucking questioned it, you didn't have the fucking balls to like rein me in, you followed me blindly, you know, like back and forth. But that doesn't happen because we can't have conversations about these things. They don't talk, they hardly talk about the important things. Like it does, they just don't do that, Xel, and they totally could do all those things in Vacuo.
By isolating them in a place that responds to emotional turmoil, we got Blake and Yang's magnificent confession.
You mean retarded confession? Because, like, in order to get there, you had to have a whole bunch of nonsense a whole bunch of stupid nonsensical bullshit had to happen, right? Like, in order to get to this point, we need to have so many utter, horrible conveniences and contrivances just stack up on top of each other in order to get to that point. So like the moment in even of itself, even if the moment in isolation is well executed and like removing the context I can maybe kind of agree. It's like not the worst thing in it's a bit fucking saccharine, sappy, like fucking diabetes ridden, blunt force trauma horse shit. But like, I guess I don't hate the scene itself if you remove the context, but you can't remove the context. You can't remove the scenes are not in a vacuum. There's stuff surrounding it, and like I said earlier, they're more concerned about their feelings for each other than they are about like not being able to escape this place. Especially considering right beforehand, it's like, oh, what's this? The tree might not be the way out. You left out you left out some things. I mean, my friend that I've known longer than you stupid fucking feline, is saying these things. I'm more inclined to believe him than I am you. So like, it doesn't. The confession falls the fuck apart because the context and all the circumstances around it are horseshit.
Got Ruby no longer being able to run or hide from facing down the weight of her own expectations.
Something she never did prior, and like ultimately it doesn't matter because it's just it's entirely circular. But also more importantly, you can have that happen in vacuo. You don't need the stupid nonsensical fucking tree bullshit, right? You don't need that. You don't need to establish that death for the main characters doesn't matter. Because if they die, they can just go to the tree, choose to be themselves, and come back perfectly normal. Like they have like an infinite loop. They have an infinite loop when they're fighting Sonichu in the tree. If any of them die, they can just come right back and keep fighting, and it they just constantly loop it. Like they have they unless one of the meth addicts kills them and eats them, which considering the original one died and Neo's just making a bunch of copies, that means that Neo can like copy fucking whatever. Yeah, but like it's essentially infinite respawn, which the more you which kind of takes any and all like suspension out of it. And Ruby also choosing to be herself is one of the most cowardly, basic bitch, contradictory horseshit, because she literally is not good enough. Like I'm kind of giving away what I'm gonna say in my video, but I mean, I think more people are gonna watch that than they're gonna watch this, so it's whatever, it's fine. But in episode 8, when she takes the 556 sleeping pill, that's her giving up. Like I'm sorry, like if you can say that's insensitive, and it probably is. But she literally could not withstand the weight of those expectations, and she could not withstand the weight of the job. She let her trauma get the best of her, and she gave up. Who she was not good enough. Who she was not good enough. She could not take the weight of. She could not take the weight of the job, of the expectations placed upon her. And she proved herself in Volume 8, specifically near the end, that her ability was incredibly lacking. And yet who she is good enough. That doesn't make sense. That's entirely contradictory. You can't reaffirm that who you were was good enough when you literally gave up. Like you're gonna go back to doing what you were doing, and like there's not even like any like new perspective on anything, right? It's not even like I can't be good enough unless I face the consequences of my actions head on, right? Simple, basic, but like it makes sense. She's acknowledging that she's going to be using the second chance to actually try and be who she needs to be. because she wasn't, and then acknowledge that she wasn't who she needed to be, and she can't become that person unless she faces the consequences of her actions, right? But, you know, like, whatever, you can just reaffirm who you were was good enough in the most fucking horseshit ways imaginable.
We got Weiss realizing the kind of pressure they inadvertently put on Ruby by having so much faith in her, and began exploring her grief over Atlas, but that one can only be continued once they leave.
No, it can't. You can have an entire episode exploring that. What are you fucking talking about? You can have an entire Weiss mental fucking breakdown. What the fuck are you on about, Xel? Like, you could have done the same thing that they did for Bumblefuck that they did for Weiss. And it's just her. Fucking...
Now, Jean's arc is a bit trickier as his issues addressed were very specific to the Ever After, but it did still explore the themes of Ruby and Jean, i.e. him backsliding into him trying to be a lone hero and the weight of that destroying him.
Which doesn't make any sense because for the longest time, like, well, not for the longest time, but like prior to episode 9, which is the worst episode, I would argue, of Volume 9. It is utter dog shit. It is fucking abysmal. Wait. No, I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. Episode 6 is the worst episode. Yeah, sorry. I forgot. Episode 6 is the episode that utterly annihilates the concept of free will by establishing a predeterministic timeline because they thought adding time travel was a good idea and not establishing any fucking rules for it, but whatever. But no, it wasn't that Jean got... The idea of Jean getting like a superficial dopamine rush from being a hero rather than an overcompensation about his own, for his own failures, right? Like, it's about... I can protect these people. Maybe, like, you can maybe tie it into it being somewhat selfish, but it's not about, I love being a hero. I love getting that rush of me being a hero, which is just so stupid. It really is, like, I need to succeed at this, or else I am nothing. I have to protect these people, or else I'm worthless. Like, what good am I to any of you if I can't protect these? If I can't protect them, what good am I? Right? If you want to take it like down that route of, it's not about wanting to feel like a hero. It's about wanting to show that you're not completely worthless, and that when it comes down to the wire, you don't fuck up every time, right? Like it's, you could argue maybe there's not much of a difference there, but I would argue it's significant enough to where, like, being ruled by your own guilt and trying to save people, I think that would being ruled by your guilt and having that, like, be like an incessive obsessive need to try and just protect people from dying, regardless of whatever the fuck the tree does. It's not whatever the fuck, but regardless of the stupid nonsense tree shit. But like distilling that to, I loved the feeling of being a hero, it was so cool, I think is incredibly reductive and kind of disgusting, and how it kind of trivializes Jean's trauma, having to live with the fact that he not only did he have to mercy kill someone, he had to mercy kill one of his friends. Like, that shit fucks you up. Like, there's so much to do there, but they don't do anything with it. It's bullshit.
In essence, V9 can only be considered filler if you deem exploring the characters a waste of time, which...
I mean... It doesn't, though. At least not in any meaningful way. Because let's really look at it. Weiss has guilt for Atlas. She then gets over her guilt and goes back to being the same character. What was accomplished? She got over her guilt in an incredibly horrendous in a horrible scene, a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad, of just brushing the destruction of an entire nation under the fucking rug, and not really explore. And they didn't even really explore it, Xel. Let's be real. Like, she gets over it. I mean, she doesn't. Does she develop as a person? No. Does she gain a new perspective on anything? No. She's the same person as she was before she entered. Nothing happened. Nothing was accomplished. Like, you can when you explore a character, something needs to change within their perspective, because it's the consequence, right? Or maybe not. Okay, maybe not every time. If you want to explore a character of why they do what they do, right? Like exploring like their history or their mentality. Obviously, the character doesn't have to change because you're exploring the why. You're exploring the why they are the way they are. But in this instance, you're trying to explore aspects and things that would actually change a person, but they don't. Like, Weiss's home is gone, and she took part in a plan, and she's partly responsible for the destruction of her home, right? Like, her family business, like, regardless of how Jacques was running it, like this was a business that's been around for a long time. Like it's gone now. Like what? Where's it gonna go? Or not where's it gonna go, but like, they didn't do anything with it. She's just the same character now. There's no change in perspective. Like, right? Like, I mean, at least I don't know. Maybe Volume 10, when it inevitably comes out, we will maybe see some kind of change in perspective. Only time will tell. But it's Weiss. Like, the story doesn't give a fuck about her.
True, why engage with any media? Thematically, there was a lot going on, from the harrowing nature of being put on a pedestal as well,
which is nothing of interest is done with it, because again, everything is reset.
As well as doing it to others, to processing grief and accepting change, as well as
accepting change. I really hate how the season, as unintentional as it is, how every character that deletes themselves becomes better. Oh, that's something that I don't think Xel's ready to have a conversation about. Let me back up a little bit.
On a pedestal, as well as doing it to others, to processing grief and accepting change, as well as reaching the heart of RWBY's themes regarding balance.
But is balance one of its themes? I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just trying like, I guess, because like Salem disrupting the balance of life and death is what caused her to be immortal, but that disrupts the balance of life and death, and so does bringing Oz back. So like the balance of life and death doesn't really matter. Okay. I mean, like, again, I would probably need to do a rewatch of the series and like take down notes. I'm not saying Xel's wrong here, but like, it doesn't really matter if the themes are botched.
But balance is not two forces locked in never-ending battle. Balance
okay.
is an ecosystem, an organism, a living, breathing thing.
No, it isn't. It is not no, it's not. It's not a living, breathing thing. Yes, I know she's being flowery, but I'm going to be autistic and say it's not living.
And what's more, how integral acts of kindness are, which is very hope punk, very RWBY core.
Baggage is. You want to talk about a character that does fucking nothing except die? Yeah, like.
World building wise, there was obviously a ton, and people assume the ever after will never come up again.
It probably won't. And also, the world building in C-197 is horseshit and stupid, and it doesn't make any sense, and hardly anything is really ever fucking explained.
Excuse me, given we basically had foreshadowing of at least Neo's return.
Okay, but Neo's return that doesn't mean we'll see C-197 again. That just means Neo will come back, and Neo deserved a worse fate. Neo deserved a much worse fate. Neo's fate should have been brutal. What could have been interesting is if the meth addict, it was, killed by her illusions, but like, you could do, I mean, it probably wouldn't make much sense, but like the fact that it takes on their forms and it's their quirks, is that like what the spirit or the remnants of the meth addict possess those illusions, and they become the illusions, and they rip her apart and eat her, so that way she doesn't ascend. Something like that. I don't know. Or they should have just dragged her through the fucking portal and like thrown her in jail. They should have thrown her in jail or something like that. I don't fucking know. She deserved a worse fate.
And others potentially passing through the gate.
Okay, but like that doesn't mean we'll actually see the fucking place again. That just means we'll have people that come from there.
And as to the main plot, well, we literally met the Brother God's mother and saw the origins of life.
That doesn't do anything. Like, what does knowing about the origin of the two Gaylords, like, what does that contribute? If you cut that bit out, nothing changes. Like, genuinely.
Gained whole new insights into the warped ideals and powers of the very beings whose actions set the plot in motion, and
but we already knew this. This was stuff we had already known beforehand. It was that exposition up in Volume 4 and like the flashback sequences. This was stuff that we already knew. Like fucking edgelord Purple Boy likes creating edgy things about that, like, that are the antithesis of life, whereas Chaseface, when he's not chasing underage girls, is about creating life, light and darkness. That's their whole deal. We don't need to see their fucking backstory. And fucking the blacksmith mommy, she was we didn't really need her either. I mean, it's not necessarily her inclusion like ruins anything, but I don't think it was necessary. If anything, like if anything, the tree could have just. I think a better interpretation is the tree, if it's represented an actual cycle, it doesn't give a shit what you think, because nature doesn't care. But that's just me.
Who are still waiting in the wings to kill everyone.
If you don't redeem humanity, I'll totally exterminate all of you. By the way, this is totally all your ex-wife's fault for not following my arbitrary rules. They weren't arbitrary, by the way. They weren't. He literally said, well, trying to think. Well, no, he said, no, don't do this. It'll disrupt the balance of life and death. I mean, that's not really arbitrary. I mean, great. I mean, actually, you know what, Zoe? I think I will agree with you on this. You have convinced me. The rules are arbitrary because they broke them. And also they gave them the gift of choice. And they chose to rebel. And also the fact that people believed Salem instead of going straight to fucking Chaseface and going, hey, yo, there's this bitch that can't die, and she said that she stole immortality from you. Is that actually true? And then Chaseface could go, oh, yeah, no, that's not true. We cursed her. She's lying to you all. And they're like, thanks. Thanks, Big G. Volume 6 is another beast entirely.
Plus, we also saw how...
I mean, yeah, they're waiting in the wings to kill everyone if you call them back, when, like... They could just not call them back. Because there's just so many ways to actually defeat Salem. Just lock her in one of the maiden rooms and throw away the fucking key. There.
In universe, the powers of destruction are meant to be wielded, which feels very important given the sword under Vacuo.
No, that's No, that's just you, that's just you reading too much into things, honestly. I don't think that was intentional. We kind of knew the sword, the sword of destruction was like the last one, that was the last relic there, and like, yeah, we saw the fucking edgelord like eating away at stuff. Okay, that's just you.
So yeah, Volume 9 doesn't fit any version of filler you can imagine.
Inconsequential bullshit, because no one really grows or changes from the traumas they experience. Jean's age, Jean's age, his aging is completely reversed. He goes back to being 19. All of that time spent, those years, the decades taken off of his life. You know, it's like, oh, wow, I'm back to where I was. I mean, because fuck the consequences of my actions. Maybe they'll do something with like the fact that mentally he's like 40, and like how, like, maybe they'll explore that in Volume 10. We'll just have to see. But we really all have to, but we kind of only have to go off of Volume 9, and they completely reversed his age through sheer horse shit, by the way, through sheer bullshit. RWBY is completely reset to how she was, despite experiencing many traumas that would permanently change someone, regardless if she decides to come back as a different person or not. Really nothing of worth is done with what happened to Atlas in any discussion, so, you know, there's that. Bumblefuck is really the only thing that actually changed, but Blake and Ying were since like Volume 6, they were just Bumblefuck, so really what actually changed? Like, really what actually changed, aside from them just having their feelings be out in the open and it being made official? Like, what actually changed? Like, genuinely, like they don't really do too much. Like, nothing really changes with them, like, at all. Again, you know, Weiss is really sad at what happened to Atlas, and then goes, well, actually, every huntsman has made mistakes in the past. We're no different. Anyways, you know, let's all group hug, even though we literally saw our leader and friend unalive herself. So, whatever. We're just gonna completely forget about that. Like nothing of consequence really happened when you think about it. Like, nothing of consequence happened in Volume 9.
Now, there is one last argument to address. I definitely think it's the weakest argument, but I am a completionist at heart. All the important stuff happened in the last 2 episodes, so the rest of the volume was filler.
You're right, that is a very stupid argument, and the people who make that argument are stupid, because, like, the stuff was important to Volume 9, but as for the overall series, it kind of wasn't. Because again, RWBY just resets to the same character she was. It's entirely circular.
As noted, that's not true given my various previous points, but also, that tends to be kind of how stories work.
No, it's not. Not really. Not at all. Not at all. Dr. Stone, like, first episode, entire world is petrified. That's like that's literally the foundation of the entire fucking story.
Conclusion ties everything together, but they need to be built up to for that to work.
And Volume 9's build-up doesn't work. Its conclusion doesn't work.
V3's Fall of Beacon wouldn't be effective if we didn't see the characters living their normal lives first.
Which we barely got any of that, really.
V4's journey to Mistra wouldn't feel like a journey without the road trip, nor would the Knuckleave be threatening as a foe if it wasn't built up to.
I guess. But the wacky arm-waving inflatable horseman was... In retrospect, it is creepy, but it's also kind of funny.
Stories need time to, establish a baseline.
And RWBY has done a horrendous job at establishing its baseline from day fucking one. Like, day one.
The characters get used to it, disrupt or challenge them in some way, and then push through to the resolution.
Yeah, that's how stories work, but like important things can happen in the early stages of a story. In fact, that's how it works a lot of times.
If Ruby and Co just landed in the Smith's domain, got given the backstory, and then dropped off to Vacuo, the whole thing would feel empty, nonsensical on a structural level, and totally unearned.
Yeah, but that's not. But I think that might be a bit of a straw man about the argument of like the argument is like the all of the important stuff happens in the last 2 episodes, which like even I don't agree with. Like a plenty of a lot of important events do happen like beforehand, right? I'll certainly important events within the context of Volume 9. Yeah, it happens. There is important stuff that happens before there. The issue is that it ultimately leads to nothing of consequence, as I've stated many times. But I don't know. Wouldn't a better argument be like, well, no, here's stuff that happens, beforehand that is consequential, even though it's not.
You can't just watch the last 2 episodes of Volume 9 and get the full experience any more than you can watch the last 2 episodes of Castlevania and get anything remotely satisfying out of it.
Well, yeah, you only watched the first 2 seasons of Castlevania and nothing else. I'm sorry. I mean, I like the last 2 seasons, but like they're not that good. They're really not that good. I'm gonna be real.
And the same applies for basically any half-decent story, because that's how storytelling works. So yeah, Volume 9, not filler. In fact, it's quite the opposite of that.
No, it is pretty filler. Like, genuinely, you could skip, like, okay. It depends on what Volume 10 does, right? Like, I'll certainly admit, Volume 10 could retroactively not retroactively, it's not right, but it could make Volume 9 not necessarily filler. At least in certain cases where it's like, oh, you do kind of need to watch it. But like as it stands right now and how it ends, nothing of consequence truly happens. Like if you really get down to brass tacks, like nothing of consequence really happens.
Now, if you would like to help support my...
Alright, that was painful and awful. I got like 57 minutes out of that. So, yeah. Volume 9, Part 2 is on the way. Oh, shit. Yeah. So, Volume 9, Part 2 is on the way. And, yeah. Hopefully that'll be out next month or so, depending on how fast I edit and how fast I work. So I will see you all then.